Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Releasing the Realness, the no fuss, no faffing, and no fronting show where we keep the conversation strictly candid. Today, I'm joined by Adeyemi, and he'll be sharing his story of bereavement, healing, and hope. One of the things that really struck me about Ife is just how passionate he is and just how completely sold out for Christ he is despite what he's been through. He's had one heck of a journey, and you'll find out a bit more about that by watching this episode. So, without further ado, come along for the ride as we release the realness on life after loss. So one of the things that I've come to realise as I've grown older, one of the things I've learned is that life doesn't always go as planned. I think when you get to a certain age, you sort of have to come to terms with the fact that 1 + 1 rarely ever equals 2.
Yeah.
And things happen to us that we don't expect, or things happen to us that we haven't prepared for. And sometimes you're faced with a situation where you just have to make a decision. It's like make or break.
Yeah, definitely.
Things can just happen suddenly.
Definitely.
You've been in those situations where things have happened to you suddenly,
Yeah.
unexpectedly.
I can testify.
Yeah, absolutely. You just had to make a decision. You've actually experienced bereavement on quite an intense level in quite a short period of time.
Yeah.
And sadly, in the space of 3 years, you lost both your parents. Tell us what that was like for you, because I can't even begin to fathom how anyone would even, think to just carry on with life, how anyone would cope with that. Like, I can't even begin to imagine it. I can't even say, oh, I know how you feel. I can't even say I have empathy for you, because I don't understand it. I haven't been there. So tell us, what was that experience like for you?
So I feel like, first of all, it was a big shock. As you can imagine, even if your parent is 70 years old or 90 years old, as soon as they pass, it becomes a shock, right? So in both circumstances, I never really expected it. I didn't really believe it was going to happen. But, once it happens, you're faced with the situation. So once it's happened, you have to accept the fact that it's happened, and then you make a decision from what you do from there. And for me, I decided that, I have to keep on moving forward, because my parents passing is not going to change. The only thing that can change, and the only thing I have power over, is my response to them passing. And I can either allow it to overwhelm me, or I can allow it to strengthen me and to drive me and to make me want to fight and move forward even more. So my father passed, he passed, and I was just going into year 12.
The first year of college, basically.
First year of college. So that was 2013.
Yeah.
I was 16 years old.
16.
Just before I got my GCSE results as well.
Wow.
I was, I really wanted to show him.
At that time?
At that time, I was just having fun. I was a young guy, 16 years old, super sweet 16. I was just enjoying life, really. I didn't really have too many worries, too many cares either. And, it was a time period where I had worked really hard on my GCSEs, and I just wanted to show my dad and show him, look, Dad, I got these grades. And, before my GCSEs even got released, he had passed. And it was quite a tough time for me. It was quite difficult. But as I said again, I had to make the decision as to whether I was going to allow it to overwhelm me, or as to whether I was going to move on. And I decided that, no, I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to continue moving forward, because that's what he would want me to do.
Was it a decision you made instantly, or was it something that you had to sort of lure over time? Is it something that, or were you straight away, you knew that, okay, I'm going to have to move on?
I think before you even get the opportunity to think about the decision, you're still in a state of shock. You're still in a state of disbelief.
Yeah.
But I think once you come back to your senses and you realize that life is still moving on, you have to decide whether to move with it. And when that time came where I had to, continue moving, I was able to make the decision. For example, over the summer holidays, it's easy to kind of grieve, to be upset. But then once sixth form starts, life hits you again. You've got responsibilities. You need to do X, Y, Z. Revision. I was a school captain of Dartford Grammar.
Wow.
1,600 students. It's a big school.
Yeah.
So I couldn't allow my parents passing to make me make me fail in my responsibility, to make me do badly. My parents passed, fair enough, but I still have to keep on moving forward. And the way life is, I've realized, is that bad things may happen, but people won't accept it as an excuse because an excuse is an excuse. You see, an excuse, the definition of an excuse is almost like a reason. You're talking about a reason not to do something, but if there's a reason you can't do something, then there's also a way of overcoming it as well. So if I'm giving an excuse, I'm giving you the reason I've decided not to do it, but I can choose to overcome as well, and I chose to be an overcomer.
I think it's really important what you just highlighted there, that it all starts with a decision.
Yeah.
Because you could easily choose to I guess, wallow in sorrow, and you
Yeah,
have every right
it's a good reason,
yeah,
right?
you have every right to
You know, I have the right to do badly in my exams. I have the right to go off the rails. I have the right to start hanging out with bad friends, to be involved in things that I shouldn't really be involved in because I have an excuse. My father just passed. I have an excuse, right? But I also have a way of overcoming, and I have a reason to overcome. And I think to overcome is always better than to give an excuse. And that's what I decided to do, overcome.
How has that journey of overcoming been for you?
Surprisingly, it's been strengthening. It's been very strengthening. Surprisingly, it's been strengthening. And, you know, you can look at it in so many different ways. I'm young. I'm 20 years old. My father passed when I was 16. My mum passed when I was 19. Everybody's parents are going to pass at one point in time, right? But it's inevitable. But the fact that my parents have passed already means that I just received strength earlier. So at this young age, I've been strengthened. I have the ability to persevere. And one of the things I've realized is that in so many different periods of struggle or hardship, it's never been as hard as that, you see. So the ability to overcome my parents' passing has given me the strength to overcome so many other challenges. And it's a blessing. Yeah.
That is absolutely so powerful.
It's a blessing.
Can I ask you about whether the passing of your father helped you in any way to deal with the passing of your mother? Obviously, it was 3 years later. So without sounding insensitive, did it
strengthen me?
Did it strengthen? Did it ease the grief? Did it ease the pain? Or was it a totally different experience for you?
I think it's a different. I don't think it prepared me. No? I think, as I said earlier, death is always a shock. So, you know, as strong as you may think you are, you're always going to be shocked, and that I think that state of shock is probably the most difficult thing to deal with. So with my mother, I was in Brazil. I was at the Olympics, 2016 Olympics. I was a Japanese translator. They called me over, and I was going to start my final week. I was going to finish the final week at the Olympics as a translator, and I received a call from my brothers telling me, "Look, you need to come back right now." And I was shocked that I didn't know what was going on, because when I left, everything was okay. So it was very sudden.
When you got that phone call, how were you feeling inside? What was going through your mind?
I was just distraught. I was distraught. And you know, I didn't want to believe that something would really happen. I didn't want to believe the worst, you know. But I just decided, I'm just gonna go back to the UK and see what's happening, because he didn't give me any details. So I just said, I'm just gonna see what's happening. And I got back and I saw what was happening, and it was quite a lot to deal with. I think me and my mum were very, very close as well, especially because my brothers went to uni. Yeah. So when my brothers went to uni, it was just me and my mum around, and you know,
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, Batman and Robin. we were really close, right? So it was a different experience, as I said earlier. It was different.
Cool. Yeah. Fair enough. Tell us a bit about your relationship with your parents. What sort of values and principles did they instill in you? What are your memories of them?
Yeah. I was much closer to my mother. As you all know, my father was an excellent man. He's a role model. Still challenging me today. You know, honestly, because you know, I tried to do a lot. I can go to the Olympics and work. I can do 100 internships. I can do X, Y, Z. You know, start a company.
He'll be like, what's next?
You know, what he's done is still challenges me today, which I really like, and that really inspires me, because even when he was my age, you know, he was in university and he started about a society across 20 different universities while he was in university, right? So me starting a company, me starting a gospel choir, me doing X, Y, Z is almost like there's more to be done, and I get to see that live in my own family. And my mother as well. I mean, my mother, her wisdom was just amazing. My mother's wisdom was amazing. She could look at anything. We could just be, and this is one of the qualities that Solomon had as well. He could look at anything and draw wisdom from it. It says that wisdom stands at the gate. Proverbs 8 says wisdom stands, it cries out at the gate. And what that means is that when you see something new, that's where wisdom is. When you see something you haven't seen, wisdom is in the difference between what you have seen and what you haven't seen. So Solomon will look at an ant and realize this ant has no master, it has no leader, but yet it can lead itself in an army. The same thing my mum would do. We'll be watching TV, we'll be driving, and she'll look at a billboard, or she'll look at a building or anything around, and she'll draw wisdom that will help me so much. So those are two really good memories from my parents. The main thing I think is just how much I learned from them while they were still here, and I'm glad because even though they've gone, I feel like I can still move forward, which means that they actually put enough within me to be able to go by myself. The same with my brothers as well. They put enough in me and my brothers to be able to go without them.
It's almost like they equipped you.
They equipped us very well
for I guess life without them, as it were. So it's not like you've been left to your own devices, or you've been left without the necessary tools. It's like
the words still there.
They're still there.
The guidance
in your mind.
still there.
That's amazing. I love that. Another question I wanted to ask. It's a little bit controversial.
Yeah.
Have you ever been, or have you ever struggled with being angry at God for what happened to you? Did anger ever sort of, overtake your mind or thoughts? Did you just sometimes think, God, why me? Why? Like, why did you allow this to happen to me? Not once, but twice. Did that ever?
Well, quite interesting. I don't think I was angry at God. I think more so I doubted God. It's like, just doubt, pure doubt. And I think that doubt, when that seed of doubt is sown, it can be very destructive. So it's almost like the devil, his primary aim and objective is to remove God from the equation. And then once he can remove God, he can remove all of the goodness that comes with God. One of the things I realized, especially when my mother passed, because this one I had so much faith that she wasn't gonna, and when she did, I doubted God at first. I was like, God, are you almost like I was asking him, are you real? I believed that he was real, but I was still asking him, are you real? And I realized that at the moment in time, I was probably at my weakest. But when I started believing in God and trusting in God and knowing that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord, and that knowing that the path that God has set me on is better than the path I could choose for myself, that the will of God is better than my own will. 1 Corinthians 1:25, it says that the wisdom of God, the foolishness of God is wiser than man. The foolishness of God is wiser than man. So no matter how wise I become, even God, if he was acting foolishly, it would still be wiser than what I could ever choose. So with that, I knew that, look, I have to trust in God. And as I trusted in God, that's where the strength came from. I became stronger. And all of the things that came with God also came with that belief in him as well, that trust in him, that the fruits of the Spirit, the love, the joy, the peace, the comfort. Yeah. Blessed are those who mourn. Yeah.
It does say that.
And also wisdom came with the situation as well, because you'll see how in Ecclesiastes, Solomon talks about how it's better to be in the house in the morning. So it's almost like when you have eternity in mind and when you have death in mind, you can almost make good decisions. You can almost use more discretion. You can become wiser because you're thinking about something that's more important.
Yeah, that's beyond you.
That's beyond you. That's further than you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that leads me on to my next question.
Yeah.
What does it mean to live for eternity?
Well, I believe it means to be in the presence of God. So I always see heaven as where God is, the presence of God, and hell is where there's no presence of God. So obviously Satan was cast out of heaven. He was cast out of the presence of God, and he was put in a place where there's no presence of God. And where there's no presence of God, there's torture, there's pain, there's torment. And one of the things I've realized from when my parents passed is that we're truly spirits. We're truly spirits. So when you look at a dead body, someone that you've known all your life, it's almost like you can't recognize them anymore because the spirit has left them. So
it's departed immediately.
Yes, departed. So the real them is not there anymore. So you can see the shell, but it's like the real them is not there anymore. So when you go to space, you wear a spacesuit, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like when you're on Earth, you wear an Earth suit, your body.
It's just a shell.
It's a shell. So when you pass, it's like your spirit goes. And that's I believe that when your spirit leaves the Earth, right now we're still living, but your spirit continues to live on. So you'll either be in the presence of God, which is heaven, or you'll either be without the presence of God, which is hell. And whoever believes in Christ will go to heaven.
It has that ticket to eternity.
Yeah.
It's either or.
Yeah.
I like the way you put that. It's a really good illustration. Did you ever struggle, or you or your brothers, because it's all three of you, did you ever struggle with feeling like an orphan? Did you ever feel like, wow, I'm an orphan? Do people ever treat you that way?
Yeah, I don't think they'll treat me as an orphan as such. And I think any thought I have of being an orphan is not really a bitter thought.
Okay.
it's just, oh wow, okay, I have no parents. Okay, let's keep moving. It's not really, a bitter thought where I'm sad or
What
sorry.
worries me.
Yeah, I think probably the most difficult thing is realizing that there's no one to kind of fall back on as such. So when you have parents, no matter how old you could be 40, and you still got a mum and dad there. If you need something, you could just
Yeah.
But I haven't really got that. So I think there's a lot of dependency on God and a lot of dependency on realizing that what I do is what will come out. So it kind of drives me to work hard, knowing that if I don't work hard, mom's not gonna come and give you pocket money.
Yeah.
Dad's not gonna give you pocket money.
There's no safety
There's,
net.
there's
Is
no
there?
safety net.
Yeah.
You've got to do what you've got to do.
But I think that's an excellent quality to build, to breed. I think definitely what you talked about, sort of having to depend on God even more. So like He is literally your support system on earth and in heaven.
Yeah.
It's Him. There's no one else.
Honestly, daily
want to get to
dependence.
that state. Yeah.
It's a blessing.
Totally relying on Him.
Yeah.
So what was life like growing up as a PK?
I think it was good because you learned so many principles that you don't even realize are so important. So my family, we used to pray every day as a family. We used to read the Bible and do Bible study every day as a family. And I didn't realize that not everybody did that. So I thought it was normal. I thought it was normal to gather together and study the Bible and say what you've learned from the Bible every day, to say a whole chapter. We used to say a chapter. From when I was 4 years old, we used to say Psalm 91. Yeah.
Wow.
I dwell in the secret place of the Most High. I abide in the shadow of the
Almighty.
The whole thing, every
Recite
single
it.
day, is in my head and is in my
I'll
heart.
go beside you if you don't know it.
Yeah, honestly, and those kind of things, the amount you receive from them without even realizing, just because it becomes a normality.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best part about it. Yeah.
And with both your parents being pastors, did you feel any sort of pressure to live up to the stereotype or, the ideal being a goody two-shoes or making sure that you're always on the straight and narrow, not deviating to the left or to the right? Did you have any of that pressure growing up?
I don't think there was any pressure, solely because I feel like people are influenced mostly by their friends. So whoever you're closest to, that's your influencer. And for most children, because they spend so long in school, so long playing outside, their influences are their friends. So the people they're trying to, I think more so than their parents, because the people they're trying to impress are their friends. So in terms of trying to impress their friends, their actions and decisions are going to be oriented towards impressing their friends rather than their parents, right? So I think because I was more interested in impressing my friends, there was no pressure because I wasn't trying to live up to the standards that my parents had set for me. I was trying to live up to the standards that
your friends
the area that everyone
accepted.
So with that, I wasn't always a goody two shoes. At one point in time, I was quite a naughty child. I was quite bad with a bad crowd as well. But by the grace of God, we've moved past it and I've improved a lot. So
discipline wise, were your parents tough on you growing up?
I think they were a lot tougher on my brothers. But
you're the youngest of three, right?
I'm the youngest.
So did you get away with a lot of stuff?
I got away with everything. But in terms of discipline, I think something kind of naturally developed over time in myself, more so than my parents forcing it into me.
Okay.
Just because I saw the fruits of it. So from a young age, from year 9, from before year 9, I didn't really have any skills. I wasn't talented. I wasn't really good at anything as such. I was almost like a good for nothing in the family. Yeah, I was like a good for nothing. But one of the things that I decided to do was become better. So I started reading, I started learning instruments, I started copying people. I see someone do something, I'll copy the skill here and there. And I realized that by being disciplined, I can gain almost any skill or any talent or anything I want. So naturally, I saw the fruits of the discipline. So as I mentioned earlier, I was school captain of Dartford Grammar, 1,600 students. In year 9, they wanted to kick me out.
Wow.
So I was a bad student, right? But
What a transformation.
they wanted to kick me out because of my behaviour, and also I didn't even have the grades to get back into the sixth form from the secondary school. But through discipline, my grades went far above what they would have ever been. I got 5 A stars, 5 A's at GCSE, and in IB I did extremely well by the grace of God, and that was all through discipline. So by seeing the fruits of discipline, it's encouraged me to be more disciplined and more disciplined, rather than it being forced onto me.
Why do you think young people struggle with discipline?
I think the main struggle is just because of pleasure. They just like pleasure more than And it's also because they believe that the fruits of pleasure are greater than the fruits of discipline.
It's almost like you feel like you're missing out.
Yeah, you
Or
feel like
because you've chosen to go God's way,
yeah,
you're being left behind.
yeah.
So let me now go and enjoy.
Yeah, honestly, but you'll realize that many people in life end up doing the same thing, but the time at which they do it is different. So many people that are wayward now, or not necessarily disciplined now, eventually they're gonna have to be disciplined if they want to survive in this life.
Yeah.
So
100%.
many people end up doing the same things, but just the time at which they do it is different. For example, you can have somebody that's smoking now, drinking now, doing X, Y, Z now. When they have a family, they're gonna start going to counselling to stop smoking. They're gonna start going to counselling to help with the drinking.
There are implications when you've got kids around.
Because there's implications on your future. There's implications in the long run.
Yeah.
When even if you don't have a family, when you drink too much and your liver's failing, you're gonna go to seek a counsellor to help you, and then eventually you're gonna stop. But then there's also somebody that decided not to drink in the first place. You see, so many people end up doing the same things, but the time at which they do it is a difference.
Yeah. And it's all about that sort of self-gratification thing where I guess people don't want to, feel the pain now, because it's at the end of the day, it's like you pay now or play later.
Yeah.
Or you play now or pay later. Either way, you're going to have to pay at some point. So you choose when you're going to pay.
Choose when you're going to pay.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Are you afraid of dying young?
Why did you ask that question?
Just because of your experience.
Yeah.
Is that something that has ever crossed your mind? Just because of something that's happened to your parents? I guess your parents were relatively young. When I say young, neither of them were in their 50s, were they?
No.
No. So when I say young,
oh wow,
yeah,
they just missed it.
Exactly.
48, 49, yeah.
Exactly
yeah.
my point. They just missed it. So is it a fear for me? Like I guess if I'm gonna help you answer this question in a way, I guess one of my biggest fears in life is being mediocre. One of my biggest fears in life is my life just not counting for anything significant in the sight of God. So is that a fear that you have at all? Is that something that ever...
Dying young? No, I wouldn't say that in particular. I think one of the things that has come with my parents passing is I don't feel like I'm as scared of death. I just maybe I would be in the face of death, but as of now, I don't feel like I'm as scared of it, just because I've seen it live, and it's become more of a reality. So I think many people, they try to push death to the back of their mind, almost like you're not.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, because if you see the way people lived, it's almost like they think they're gonna live forever. If you see certain wicked people, it's like they feel like they're never gonna die, right? But generally, everybody dies. So I think seeing my parents, yeah, honestly, like life is just a rolling cycle that goes on forever. No, I think one of the things that has come with my parents passing is just that, the realization that, first of all, the realization that death is real. It's a real thing. It does happen, and also the knowledge that death can come at any time as well. It's always a shock. It's always a surprise. So I think with that, I've become less scared of it, if anything. Yeah, less scared of death in general, as opposed to when I'm gonna die.
No, I think that's really good. I mean, like you said, it's going to confront every single person. It's a finality that no one can avoid. So for you to sort of just be like, yeah, I'm not scared of death. I'm living my life. I'm here now. I'm living it to the full. That's great. And what would you say to anyone out there who's currently struggling with the fear of death, like having sleepless nights? Every day they walk out of the house, they're like, am I going to make it back home today? They're just scared of suddenly, being, I guess, extinguished from the earth or whatever. What would you say to encourage them?
I think I would encourage them to seek God, because...
Break that down for us.
Yeah,
Seeking God.
Because when you seek God, it's like He'll bring you comfort. First of all, He'll bring you comfort, and also He'll give you His Spirit. And His Spirit is not one of fear, it's one of faith. So one of the things I've realized about fear is that, one of the things I've realized about the devil is that you can't really create anything of his own. So what he does is that he tries to manipulate what God has created already. He tries to distort and pervert. So God can give a man faith, but the devil will cause you to have faith in something bad. So he'll cause you to have faith in death, which becomes a fear. Faith in a negative becomes a fear. And so people that have a fear in death, they actually have faith. So you have the faith, you have a good thing, you have a fruit of the Spirit, which is faith, but it's being used in the wrong way. So all you have to do is pray to God, seek God, so that He can give the seed that He's put in you can be used for His glory. Yeah. And I think to fear death it's a bad fear, because everybody's going to die eventually.
Yeah, you can't escape it.
You can't escape it. It's something that happens to everybody. So you know, if you fear death, then essentially you're living a fearful life in general, because as long as you're alive, then death is going to come. So that means as long as you're living, you're going to fear death, which is a very sad and tormenting life. So I think what you need to do is just seek God, seek for the Spirit of God, pray to God that He can help you overcome it, and that He will allow your faith to be used for His glory, rather than allowing the devil to distort what God has given you.
And just embrace life as well, because I love how the Bible says in John 10:10 that I've come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. So while you're here, like, live life to the full, not recklessly, but enjoy everyday life, be a blessing to those around you. Thank God for the life you have. I mean, also, I think about that chorus, or not that chorus, that stanza from the hymn, In Christ Alone. It says, no fear in death, no guilt in life. I love that so much, because I think, why should we fear death when we have Christ?
Yeah, like, He's overcome it.
He's overcome it. He's done it for us already on the cross. Like, He didn't die
He's
for us to
overcome
be
it.
scared of it.
Yeah, it's literally like, God had to send His own Son. He sent Himself, and He sacrificed. He shed His own blood for us to overcome. And it's not like the world today, because they're very carnal, what they try to do is that they try to make Christianity a fable or a story. This is not a story. This is history. Jesus was a real person. He came to the earth. He was a historical figure. He's a real person. He was here, and they crucified Him, and His blood literally shed, and He rose again. They can't find His body. He's risen. So it was a real sacrifice that God made for you to have peace. So if God has already made the sacrifice for you to have peace and life everlasting, all you have to do is believe in the sacrifice to gain access to the sacrifice, rather than living in fear.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that you're not sort of, you're not challenged by that fear of death, even though you've seen death like so intensely, so real in the face. It's really good that isn't something that that you're battling with.
Yeah,
really
I'm grateful to God for it as well.
I'm grateful to God for that as well.
Yeah,
100%. If and when you go to uni, you're faced with all sorts of options.
Yeah,
things are coming at you from left, right, and centre. It's freedom, quote unquote, and you can just do what you want. How's that been for you? I
wish I could say I've had peer pressure, but genuinely, I don't really feel like there's been a lot. I feel like when you get to university, whether or not you face peer pressure depends on the type of person you are.
And you think you can avoid facing peer pressure?
Yeah, you can definitely avoid facing peer pressure. It depends on the type of person you are. I mean, if you're a creative person, if you're a driver, if you like to create stuff and do stuff your own way, then you'll find that probably, you'll find that probably you're not being influenced by other people's thoughts as much as some other people may be, just because you're more interested in making things happen.
Cool. So just to wrap up, I've got a few quick fire questions
Sure.
for you to answer. So don't think about it too much. Just sort of just say, what first comes to mind. So finish this sentence. Legacy is
powerful.
Legacy is powerful.
Yeah.
Nice. And what's the one thing that you think our world needs more of?
Builders.
Can you elaborate on that?
I feel like not enough people are into building. And one of the things I realized is that you can measure the value of something you're doing by how long it lasts. So when you become a builder, you start to work towards things that have a long-lasting impact, things that will continue after you're gone, continue to help people and affect people and grow people. So as Christians, we need more people that are building things for Christ. We need more gospel choirs. We need more gospel entertainment companies. We need more churches. We need more things that are oriented towards bringing people to Christ. So I believe we just need more builders. And as my bishop says, you can have it if you can build it.
Yeah, definitely. And lastly, how do you know that God is real?
I feel like I've had many spiritual experiences, and one of the things about God is that you have to believe in Him to receive Him, and then when you receive Him, that's when you experience Him. But the way the world works is that they experience something and then they believe it, but that's not how it works with God. And one of the things about God is that His glory is in concealing. But one of the things about man is that their glory is in revealing. So it's like two opposing forces, and we know who's stronger. God is stronger. So if God's glory is in concealing and your glory is in revealing, then you're not gonna reveal Him concealing Himself, And it's almost like if man had the ability to reveal all of God, then it's almost like they'll make a formula for God. They'll try and make a box to absorb Him or something, because mankind, they just like to dominate. So with that, God cannot be dominated, so He cannot be overpowered. So with that, His strength is almost in His mystery as well. And it's only by believing in him that you can receive him. And when you receive him, that's when you can experience him. It says that faith comes by hearing, and hearing comes by the word of God. So it's like when you receive the word, then you receive faith. And when you receive faith, that's when you can move mountains. That's when you experience. But it's not when you move mountains, then you have faith. It's not when you see it, you believe it. You believe it and then you see it. And that's one of the mysteries of God. That's why it says the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. So it's like, in man's eyes, why should you believe it? They talk about empirical data, econometrics, all of that kind of stuff, statistical significance, all of this stuff. You can't justify something until you've seen it. Whereas with God, it's like, you cannot see it until you believe it. It's a completely different wisdom.
It's the other way around. Yeah. Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
It's been a privilege, in fact.
Thank you for having me,
Thank you.
Yeti.
Thank you for your time. I'd like you to just tell us how we can keep in touch with you. If people want to connect with you, if they want to follow you on social and find out what you're up to, the adventures of Adeyemi, how can they keep in touch?
You can follow me on Twitter. I think that's the main thing I use. So please direct message me, contact me, ask me any questions you would like. I'm more than happy to give advice or help with anything I can help with.
Wonderful.